Hello, and welcome to Our Haunted Nostalgia, a paranormal podcast hosted by myself, Elias Kier, and I'll be with my guests, Max.
Hello.
Jack.
Hello.
And Adam.
Hey.
And today we're going to be dealing with a local urban legend known as Constitution Drive. Does anybody here actually have any experience with Constitution Drive?
I don't know shit about Constitution Drive.
What about you, Jack?
I do.
What do you know about Constitution Drive? Anything at all? Let me know.
I don't know. I feel like Constitution Drive. I'm surprised, actually, Max, that you haven't heard of it because I feel like that was a thing in high school was to go drive Constitution Drive.
No, bro. I like girls in high school. I was I was busy. I don't know.
Like a test of courage thing?
Yeah, more like a test of courage thing, I guess.
It'd be like,
yeah.
Oh, you guys have
me and the other virgins.
all together, all packing their
would
packing
go
the
play
cars.
Padiddle up there.
They're all Jack and everybody
guys.
Jack and everybody in the chess club is just going up to the
Just going up to Constitution Drive.
Oh, there were women up.
Where at Constitution Drive?
I mean, he's
There
not.
were women
they
out there.
alive?
I was gonna say he's not incorrect. There
No,
were
I
women.
feel like that was
Something.
the thing that you would do. You would like
Find
go.
women?
No, you would all file into a car and get spooked out there. Then you'd come home.
Well, on that note, perhaps it's a shared cultural obsession with the automobile because there seems to be something akin to a haunted road or a possessed drive in pretty much any major American city. And I say major because the ones that I could find were actually major. I'm sure there are dozens of local ones we have no idea about, much like Constitution Drive. Everybody knows the famous ones that go from anywhere from New Mexico's Hellhounds on Route 491 or the iconic Route 66, which I'm not gonna lie, I'm not too sure about any of the
Is
actual.
that haunted?
It's on every list, and I have no idea what the actual hauntings are.
Just horrible traffic accidents.
Probably,
And people going on Route 66.
you would imagine that it would just be an actual horrible traffic accident.
What do you?
What's
you
the matter,
showing me?
Jack?
I didn't know what
padiddle
is.
Oh, you didn't know what a padiddle is?
I don't know
Is,
what a
is
padiddle is.
padiddle a local thing? Is that like
What's
that,
a padiddle?
It's
It's a game where when you see a car with its headlight out, you punch the ceiling and say padiddle.
Oh,
and
see,
the last person to say padiddle must take off an article of clothing.
We
never heard of that.
That's
That's
like
what I'm saying. Constitution Drive. That's like
Where
that
you
was
play
that was
Padiddle.
a place of early sexual revolution
for him and
Revelation.
everybody in the
It's a revolution.
For some, I gotta be honest with you, not for me.
for Jack and all the other
so
chess
Padiddle,
players.
padiddle was like the adolescent, like definitely.
Was it like a makeout point or?
I don't know about
More like
Constitution
spin
Drive.
the bottle or
Yeah, padiddle's like a spin the bottle or like 7 seconds in heaven kind of like game that like adolescents play as a cover to like
to do the things that they want to do.
you gotta-
exactly.
Things, yeah.
yeah.
You know, or with your coworkers or you know in the office
Yeah.
at the
Casually.
bank.
Casually.
on Constitution
People get
Drive.
it. People
Yeah,
know it.
spin the bottle right in the middle of the road. Nothing bad can happen.
So what is haunted about Constitution Drive?
Well, it's funny that you ask because one of the most predominant mysteries of Constitution Drive actually comes from probably a local myth all of us have heard of at some point. Everyone's heard of ghost lights or some type of light apparating in the darkness of
Dancing lights.
a forest, something like that.
Will o' the Wisp.
They're the Will o' the Wisp, dancing lights, stories of actual ghost lights on railways and various roads across America. Constitution Drive has a very specific one that follows the specter of a man who was not murdered. I guess you could call it murdered. Is it murdered if a train does it to you?
No.
Well, it's an accident, no?
Well, it's certainly an
Well,
accident.
what if the train meant it?
Well,
it's malicious.
the story of-
Trains don't kill people.
People.
Conductors do.
Well, I refuse to go to the opera.
I hate passenger rail.
This specific man was said to have been walking down the rails of Constitution Drive, which, unfortunately enough, it has both a railway and a river beside it. This man was unlucky enough to have been walking his dogs on the railway, yes, when he was struck by a train and either near instantly killed or survived long enough to slowly bleed out with his whimpering hounds.
Did the dogs eat them?
That might be a version of the story because there are a couple. There's a version where he was a railway worker who got hit by a train. That's it. There are versions where he's walking his dogs. There are versions where the dogs are killed instantly before him. There are versions where apparently he was eaten by his dogs, which is realistically what any animal would do after you die,
Not gonna let
honestly.
fresh meat go to waste.
So is this just like a very spooky road with no like street lights or what?
So the fear of
No,
Constitution.
there are no lights.
So the fear of Constitution Drive not only comes from those kinds of apparitions, but because of its location in specifically Allentown and Salisbury's township.
Which is a horrifying place to be.
No, honestly, you don't want to be anywhere near this area in Allentown or Salisbury. Jack pointed out that there are no lights on this drive.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why, and again, I think most of the stories for Constitution Drive come back from the 70s because most of the horror of Constitution Drive came when it was an entirely gravel road, and that was it. And it was one of the only roads linking Salisbury and Allentown, which meant people still took it pretty consistently.
And like had to take it at like late hours of the night and probably saw all sorts of shit out there.
Which is why you do hear a lot of stories of, and I say a lot, by a lot I mean a lot of stories online. I could only find one semi-legitimate story when it came to this, of an albino serial killer cannibalistic family that runs cars. And
So that for me was the thing.
The
More so than
albinos?
the legend of the person being hit by the train I've heard too, but the more practical thing is there's a single house that's on that road that I actually think there might be an albino person that lives there,
This
but
is
the
the Boo
legend is that
Radley
there's
character.
an albino killer there.
This is the Boo Radley character.
Yeah, this is Boo Radley.
who's Boo Radley?
And
To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yeah.
He's like the local. I think like what is he mentally challenged or
Outcast.
something? Like yeah,
no,
like,
he's just an social outcast.
He's like a social. He's just like an antisocial.
Never leaves the house. Everybody sees things in
like
the
Stoop Kid
windows.
never leaves the stoop
Gotcha,
kind of
gotcha,
situation,
gotcha.
but like he like all the kids have like mystery things about him and Kill a Mockingbird.
The other thing too about the lightless road that's gravel, it's not well maintained, so you have to drive exceptionally slow on it because there's huge potholes.
The entirety
But
of
on
the
top
time.
of that, because there isn't anything, there's literally a thin line of vegetation and then a waterway. Regardless of the weather, it's always windy. So if you go at night, there's just wind whipping through the trees in the dark on this gravel road. So it does have that sort of
Makes
atmosphere.
your
eerie
leaves moves
effect.
house.
Yeah, it does have
And
that kind of
and to add to that, the three major mysteries of Constitution Drive basically boil down to the story of this ghostly apparition that seems to appear usually at night with crimson glowing eyes, haunting whoever might be going down the road at that time. The albino family that attacks people, which I think is probably more of a parable of this is a dangerous road. Probably don't go down it. There have been a lot of accidents for some reason. The third one is honestly the most mysterious in my opinion because it's been documented as a mysterious melodic tone that hums from pretty much every direction of the forest unanimously that can't directly be pinpointed, or so has been claimed. There are recordings of this thing online. Every single one of them is like 15 years old, so all of the links were dead for me, unfortunately. But it's those three that happen to make up the majority of the actual hauntings. But the actual issue of Constitution Drive comes from what Jack pointed out, which is the fact that it's an unmaintained road, just lost in the midst of a township next to a forest, not only a railway station, railway tracks, and a river. So many of the actual real life stories that come out of Constitution Drive are almost just as bad as the hauntings, like ATV accidents happening in the wilds, which caused the death of a man back in 1987, I believe.
Wilds.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. And you pointed out, are there any women on Constitution Drive? The answer is at some point when they're driving down. On other points, yes, when they've been murdered, as was the case in the 1980s, as the Morning Call wrote in a staff article, where a woman was assaulted, I think raped, and then murdered on the
Well,
drive.
the troubles.
Classic.
Well, the reason being because of the isolation of Constitution Drive.
Yeah, I mean it's that's
Allentown
why
troubles.
it's like I feel like every place has this because you have a long stretch of like relatively unmonitored road and just bad shit happens. Like and it's kind of it's spooky, you know. I mean, it's spooky to be walking down a long dark road knowing that there could be someone off the edge of it. I mean, you probably have like all sorts of homeless people
Who are out there just for whatever reason, because many of the crimes that actually occur on Constitution Drive aren't anything that you would write home about, aren't anything headline grabbing, right? Sure, there's the occasional mystery or the automobile accident that takes a life. The ones that catch everyone's attention are when a child is murdered on the road, or when an accident leads somebody into the river.
But has there been any children that have died there? I always thought of it as a more like just place for young people to go and scare themselves, but not more sinister than that.
It actually, surprisingly, the sinisterism of Constitution Drive comes from its history, and the reason why it has this haunted history is because local legends were picked up by, believe it or not, radio hosts in the 1970s. The albino house story came from, imagine delay sexadillionaire or whatever just coming on and it's like, hello, welcome, it's Sunday. Today we're going to be talking about Constitution Drive and the albino family that murders everybody.
Galaxy News Radio. From
Apparently it was noted multiple DJs had used the albino family story of Constitution Drive as an eye catch to get people listening because that's what the radio was in the 1970s, and that
get you to turn up that dial.
Exactly, and the stories that came from the albino family were specifically red eyes cutting from the forest when you're going down the street at night.
Is that a true? I don't want to be insensitive. Is that a real thing that albinos have red eyes? Is that where it comes
I
from?
would like to be insensitive, and I'm pretty sure that they all.
Well, it's a
have
thing for
bright,
mice, right?
Glowing red eyes. Yeah. Is it?
No
Is-
way.
No,
So,
albino
do
mice have
albino
red
humans?
eyes.
So
Yeah,
albino,
they do.
Yeah,
that's
true.
true. Mice, not necessarily humans.
albino people do have a higher than normal chance of their eyes being uncolored, which leads to the red of their blood
I
making
see.
them seem red. But they don't glow in the same way that you would imagine a raccoon's eyes.
They don't glow. What's the point of being albino?
Well, the reason why there are
superpower.
Yeah, why would you do it?
The reason why there are glowing eyes on Constitution Drive is actually hilarious, in my opinion, because the man who owns
Yeah, it's called raccoons.
the singular home on Constitution Drive, a man that goes by the name of John, I haven't pronounced his name, Erbhard. I'm assuming that's correct.
Oh, yeah.
John, yeah. You're related to him, right, Jack?
Yeah, Jack Earphard is his full legal name.
Jack.
Who has owned and lived on Constitution Drive since 19...
Wow, that's a long time.
That is a very long time.
We'll ADR that later.
That's a lot.
That guy is a monster.
Yeah, he's just
Since
an eternal.
2,000 years. This guy's 2,005 years
19,000
old.
years. But no, he's been living on Constitution Drive since he was 38, at least in the 1980s, which means he's probably decrepit by this point and also does not live there. But he shared a story about how the previous owner to him used to keep pigs on his home property.
Do pigs have glowing eyes?
And pigs have glowing eyes
Hell
if you
yeah,
hit
you
them
never
with
seen a
light
pig
in
in
the
the
night.
Yeah, it's like a lot of animals have glowing eyes.
Go to a pig farm. It's a house of horrors after dark. I'll tell you what.
You ever look a pig in the eye?
The sounds on a pig farm.
Pigs can't look up to me. I'm too tall for them.
Oh, okay.
He's never had
Are you serious?
Yes, they can't look up.
I wouldn't.
Like to a certain degree.
pig
Like
can't-
dogs can't look up. Like
But no, it's real. Pigs can't look up to me.
Pigs can't.
pigs
Pig-
can't
pigs
stare up
cannot.
into the night sky. They
Yeah, it's a
can't
true
question
thing.
where they came from.
That's truly why they lack self-awareness.
Awareness,
Yeah.
yeah.
I would be brutally honest. If I was living in that house, my heart goes out to whoever lived there because the
So
amount
many
of shit that they
teenagers.
had to deal with forever.
So many shitty teenagers sneak into their backyard.
Oh
and
my
shit.
god!
Yeah.
And if there was
Dares.
ever a truly albino person there, how fucked up?
God.
Honestly,
Dude, it sucks being albino anywhere, but might be the worst. Have you heard about people in Africa?
Yeah.
In certain places in sub-Saharan Africa. I don't know if that's a problematic designation now. You never know, but where they people kill albinos for
Yeah.
naturalistic medicine to use their
that
like,
sounds
the
shit.
hell?
Well,
It's like a superstition thing.
Well, we hear similar
Yeah.
stories about shark fins and rhino horn being
Right,
collected for
right.
that reason. I can't imagine I don't want to say seeing a shiny human being, but you see a legit
an incredibly rare mutation.
Yeah, an incredibly rare mutation amongst humankind. I feel like that naturally amongst any people, you would go, something's off about that guy. We could maybe find out how, why, or we could kill him and use his bones for probably erectile
To cure
medicine.
diseases.
Yeah, I assume it's erectile medicine. It's funny you bring that up, Jack, because John has actually gone on record multiple times with the Morning Call, a local newspaper, and several independent sources about the struggles he has with the number of internet investigators and urban legend hunters that come to this area specifically because of its true crime and paranormal history. And he describes his house as being broken into on 4 separate occasions.
Oh, Jesus.
Being witness to the cataloging various street dumpings that happen on the road because the place is notorious for dumping as well, and multiple counts of arson and drug use that have also occurred. If not directly in front of his house, then on the road and in front
that
of the
makes.
river.
I could totally see that happening on that road.
And there was actually on specifically March 30th, 1986, John Ebert awoke to gunshots being fired at his home.
Jesus.
And he now has a picture frame hanging in front of those gunshots in order to cover where the bullet holes came from. And since then, John has slept with a shotgun by his bedside since that day in 1986. Because
it's terrible.
Cue
Yeah.
the American Eagle sound right there. Like, yeah.
the Falcon sound.
Did they find what? I mean, was it an attempt on his life? Was it kids messing around?
So the street, because of its seclusion from not only the city around it, but also from any police routes, as I'll go into later, police have no respect for this location and only give so many resources to actually monitoring and keeping track of it. Even though John has gone on record to catalog, name, date, and find as many of these issues that are happening on his road as possible, and works with the local police of Allentown and Salisbury in order to get that information to them, little to nothing could be done for them. And the chief of police has actually gone on record multiple times as saying, let me find the exact quote real quick. The chief of police for Allentown in the 1980s has gone on record as saying that his patrol cars go to Constitution Drive about once or twice per shift. We have more important. Oh, I guess I should put an accent on for this, shouldn't I? We have more important places to patrol, he said. You sort of go down there when you don't got anything else to do. That's the price you pay for living in an isolated area. And if you're unable to cope with that type of living, then maybe don't live in an isolated area. Maybe it's time to move. Quite literally, the worst information you could give to somebody.
Victim blaming,
yeah,
yeah.
who's saying that they're being consistently.
I've been shot at. Shouldn't have been there, buddy.
You don't want to be a target for crime?
Wrong place, wrong time.
Fuck
buddy.
off.
Dude, but all the cop's point is well taken because it's again not that.
I guess
for
at a
those of
certain
us who
point.
don't know, for our listeners who aren't familiar with Allentown, Pennsylvania, it's not like the worst place on the face of the earth by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a relatively large, medium-sized city with a lot of shit going on, and some neighborhoods that have pretty high levels of crime. They don't have time to deal with because how many bullshit calls go to Constitution Drive?
Probably,
For this guy who's been has a genuine concern 5, 6, 7, 8 times in the last couple decades. How many kids playing padiddle? How many jacks are down there?
Well, we have at least 4 recorded moments of his house being shot at, which
Yeah.
are actual
Yeah, I
issues.
feel like that's a bad take by that guy.
Well, I mean, it's a bad take with the answer being just move if you can't handle it.
But
Still
no,
though.
how are they ever going to stop
But
that?
no,
That's-
I totally understand that. But one of the ways they attempted to deal with the issues of Constitution Drive was
Streetlights.
straight up closing it. This wasn't anywhere during our
No,
lifetime.
that would make way too much sense. Streetlights are the obvious solution. We can't do that.
Just illuminate things.
well, it makes a
Put
difference.
some.
does.
It does 100% make
Yeah.
sense.
It makes a humongous difference.
Allentown didn't do that. The city of Allentown, I think, in the 1990s at some point, closed Constitution Drive to all public access, making it so that technically John was.
Well, isn't it more taboo at that
What
point?
would
Yeah,
be-
they're
what would
making
be
it
the-
worse.
What would be the worst form of illumination? What do you think would be the worst form to make it even creepier? If there was a single
Spotlights.
fucking
Probably
spotlight.
Yeah,
on
just a
the corner.
rotating red
Or if they
light
did old
spotlight.
18th
Skechers.
century gas light.
Yeah.
You have to have a small child run up with a torch to light each
Yeah,
of them.
yeah.
The lamplighters.
But it's funny because my question when I was looking into Constitution Drive was what about specifically this area seemed to call our local collective unconsciousness to give it a type of haunted or mystical point of view, right? What about specifically Constitution Drive as opposed to the various other unkempt and decrepit roads in Allentown led to people forming these myths and this mythos around it, right? And it actually caused me to stumble across an article written by a man named Frank T. McAndrew, who is a professor of psychology in the University of in the College of Knox. Not too familiar with what that is. I'm assuming it's in
NOx? Knox?
KONX.
Oh.
Yeah. But he says the standard features of a haunted house trigger feelings of dread because they push buttons in our brains that have evolved long before even the existence of a home. These alarm buttons are there to warn us of potential dangers and motivators that proceed with caution. So what that basically means is because of the seclusion of Constitution Drive, I'm again extrapolating this from haunted houses to anything that might get that sort of haunted feeling in you, right? I'm extrapolating that to mean that it's whenever you know there could be a sense of danger that elevates that haunted feeling. On Constitution
So
Drive,
again, it's the fact that it's taboo, but not outrageously taboo. You're not going into a gang-controlled warfare where you know what the danger is. It's the mystery
of what
but
might
it's
be
not
there.
overtly dangerous.
So
Okay.
in your example of walking into a bad place in your city, you know that the danger might be muggings, handguns, car accidents, automobile theft, whatever it might be. In this area, you've only ever heard stories of albino families, of people going after, chasing after ghosts with their hounds.
Shooting random guys' houses.
Yeah, you've actually heard stories of people getting shot at. So when you go down this drive and you're with your families or your friends and you're pediddling, whatever the hell that is.
When you're hoping to pediddle.
To win.
But like,
You're hoping to pediddle, but it's not working.
It's never I've never.
You realize there's no other fucking cars on the
It's literally the worst place. Yeah, actually, hold on. Wait a second. Let's back the fuck up because apparently, like, this was Jack's like grandmaster scheme as like a high school student.
No, it wasn't.
Totally.
I was
Was
always
he
the one
sure?
that was scared in the middle, saying, "Please God, don't let there be
Please,
a car.
please,
if
God."
I'm the last one and I have to take off literally a glove, I'm gonna kill myself."
And add to the spookiness. After pediddle gone wrong
Chris,
on
why are you
Constitution.
hyperventilating? The albinos, I guess. I don't know. Fuck. Drive faster.
Please hurry. Oh God, that was a pothole. My cock is
Numerous
flopped out.
suicides on Constitution Drive after pediddle games gone wrong.
But when,
Unrequited youth.
but when the pediddling is occurring and your attention is distracted somewhere, in your periphery, all you know is there are woods
And
or-
albinos.
or albinos, or an actually dangerous railroad track that you know has killed somebody, and a river, which is just dangerous regardless, right? Think about how many cultures have stories of river creatures, river demons, or monsters that just drown you.
Well, yeah, because people get drunk
Take
and
a
drown in
railroad
a
track
fucking
over a
river
river
all
10
the
times out
time.
of 10.
Yeah, because trains don't sneak up on people.
Rivers do.
You don't know a lot about trains.
Yeah,
Boss.
clearly.
No, I'm
ha-
saying
haunted
getting hit
train.
by a train would suck ass, but
Yeah.
guess what? You got a lot more time to get on those tracks and get off them. You get stuck in the river at the wrong time of day, you're fucked.
You could be there for a while.
You're done, dude.
Yeah.
Water?
It's terrifying.
It is horrifying.
I'm
just
legitimate-
saying, of
I'm
all
le-
the dangerous things you listed.
I'm legitimately just trying to think about when I would
Rivers are legit dangerous.
when
and
Yeah.
horrifying.
yeah, but when would I just find myself in a river in danger?
Okay, so like you're
Whitewater
in
rafting.
danger whenever.
I guess that's true.
Dude, you're in danger whenever the fuck you're in a river. Like,
Yeah.
we live in Pennsylvania, bro. Like, you know, it is a tradition to go and swim in unsanitary, quickly moving water in the state. Like, that's what we do, and it is unbelievably like take it from you guys know my whole rescue diver bullshit that like. The amount of like kids who get fucked up by rivers because the current is stronger than they realize. I mean, all you need is like a foot of water. It just takes your
yeah.
feet right out from under you, and you can't see shit. It's like getting put into a goddamn
Washing
And
machine.
it's not a
filled with
pool
dirt.
with a perfectly flat ground. There's jagged rocks, uneven terrain.
and there's garbage and shit in there because it's like it's flowing through a major
other
urban
living
area.
creatures.
Well, fucking albinos
the
in there.
creatures are not the issue. It's the trash, boss.
Well, the
Potentially.
the trash and the actual amount of water is a danger to
Yeah.
pretty much anybody, as you guys have stated, which is why I've gone to the conclusion of thinking that a lot of stories like this from the various haunted roads, haunted highways, do come from a place of, I think, parents, guardians, adults in general.
Oh, like spooking their kids and
Feeling
saying
the
stay
need
away from Constitution Drive.
There's
'cause
a
you're
man.
gonna-
There was a man who was hit by a train. There are albinos who will push you into the river. There's a whistle. I'm not sure what that one will do to you.
Dude,
but
I don't know, man. The river thing is like the most compelling. Like, anything to do with the river is fucking scary to me. Like,
a
Yeah.
poorly illuminated river
Yeah.
that
yeah.
does not have an easy shoreline because the shoreline is a pretty
Like rocky and
steep
shitty.
bluff up to a railroad. So it's not like you can fall in. Like, granted, there are a lot of swimming holes that I would feel a lot more comfortable being around versus being in the worst possible section of a river.
well, and dude, also like imagine this: you're down, you're a teenager, you're down by Constitution Drive because that, like, or at least you think that the cops don't come there on a regular basis.
And you know the
you're getting a little
bediddling
fucking
happens here.
high. You're getting a little, you're smoking some weed. And you're chilling off of the road because you don't want to be on the road smoking weed. So you walk down the Constitution Drive. You get a little like disoriented. You get tripped up. Reefer madness takes hold. And before you know it, you smack your head on a rock and you roll down into a freaking river. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare situation. This is why like. Dude, you want to go like whitewater rafting, and I will absolutely go whitewater rafting with you. But I am so much more afraid of whitewater rafting than I am of like skydiving or anything else because it is genuinely a freaking.
I would actually
dangerous
rather
hobby.
jump out of a plane than be stuck.
I would
I
rather
haven't.
whitewater raft
No.
than jump out of a plane.
No.
Be just
Well, with
because
a
of the
chute.
optics of it, or because
Well, I've done it before. I really enjoy
whitewater rafting or
the
skydiving.
rafting.
See, I've skydived.
I've never skydived,
it's
but I just
very
enjoy
cool.
the rowing process. Like I think it's fun to go through the rapids.
Oh, dude, it looks like a blast. I am not saying I won't do it, but like when you take like a measure of like hobbies or extreme sports that you can do, isn't whitewater rafting like one of the most dangerous outdoor things you can do?
Type 1 and Type 2 rapids.
Diabetes.
Yes, diabetes. Oh, that's another haunted concern we have to deal with in America.
Diabetes.
But ghosts in our
It's
blood.
ghosts in your blood. You should do cocaine about
But
it.
Type 1 and Type 2 water rafting specifically is like your grandma could potentially do it. It's the
Grandma fucking rips. She could do grade 3.
the thing that you do with
Talk shit on Jack's grandma.
the thing that you do at like on school trips. Type 3 is when you have the chance of being bobbled and thrown out of the thing. Type 4 is when you get to like, oh, this river could kill you if you fall out incorrectly.
I feel like there's a lot of rivers like that though.
Any major river, yeah. The Lehigh River.
Most rivers have
Yeah.
sections that can get very intense.
Yeah.
Like even a river that would be seen as mild probably has 1 or 2 sections.
I'll-
of
Like the
rapids that are
weather
pretty
takes
intense.
a turn for the world. Like if you have a lot of
I'll tell you guys what the worst experience for me was when I was whitewater rafting, and it was at the very end when we got to the last rapid section. The instructor said, "All right, boys, we're getting to the last rapid section. After this is the finish line. You've made it." I had been the only person in our entire raft that hadn't fallen out at that point. We hit the first bump. I am flung from the boat. I hit the water, much like you guys said.
Wait, you're telling me that throughout this whitewater? Wait, you're the only one who hadn't fallen out up to that point?
Yeah.
Isn't that like the whole point is to stay in the fucking raft? Like, is this a regular occurrence in whitewater rafting that people regularly get flung out of the fucking raft?
It's incredibly dangerous.
Isn't it? I don't know a lot about
If-
whitewater
so-
rafting.
so- well, here's the thing.
I'm not an
Again,
expert.
unless you're in the rapids, falling out of a boat is you fall
How?
out.
Why are you falling out of the boat if you're not in the fucking rapids?
Because
Like,
you do
if it's
stupid,
strong,
you do stupid
dude,
things with your friends.
No, no, boss. Like I'm thinking, if it's strong enough to cast you out of the boat, a grown adult male that weighs substantially more than a chimpanzee, like getting thrown out of the fucking boat. Like if it's that strong, then it's bad to be in the fucking water. Like
Well, I'll tell you it's fun because when I got thrown out of the boat, I rolled onto my back, hit a couple of rocks, got on my feet on one of them, and jumped back into the boat.
fuck that.
It's totally possible.
Fuck that. I mean, it's possible.
You would
believe it's
appreciate
possible.
whitewater rafting, the back roll, because you get to sort of serve as the rudder of the group.
Which is what I was doing.
Yeah.
Which is why you can't fall out or they're all fucked.
You would really like that piece of it.
If I get pushed out of the fucking boat.
Well, again, it took a lot for me to get thrown out.
Yeah, so you got like launched.
Like
That's
all
wild.
of, like my brother, when he was the first one to fall out, and that was because the boat literally tipped a little bit. He didn't realize it, and he rolled backwards. I got like, and then whipped out to the left before I lost my paddle. But it's one of those things. Well, yeah, that's why water is legitimately dangerous, and why I would think that something like Constitution Drive or stories of like the Kelpie, Loch Ness monster, mermaids in general, Kappas are just like almost universal mythological creatures globally that are just there to warn children, young adults,
Yeah, exactly.
and even adults.
Yeah, don't go near the water because they'll drag you in. You know, the personifications of the danger of the natural world.
And in our modern world, that just evolved from a mystical creature to the threat of an albino
The
family.
threat of other human beings in urban environments. I mean, like, dude, highways were a dangerous place for a lot of
Which is,
like,
again-
fucking highwaymen, roadmen.
Which is probably why there are actual stories of highway.
Jan de Lichte.
What is that?
Jan de Lichte.
You lost me.
The Dutch.
Are those Dutch roadmen?
Sounds like
No, Jan de
Light.
Lichte. Okay, well.
Well, I mean,
that would be
explain it now.
He was
John the
he's
Light.
like a famous like Robin Hood-esque figure. He was a really well-known highwayman.
Oh, okay.
That was. Well, I mean, he's seen because he was sort of like kill the rich, give to the poor, but really he had a pretty sordid past. But
Yeah, of course.
he's a-
Like
he's a
everybody
cool,
does,
He's a
yeah.
cool historical figure.
Unlike
to
most
dive
vigilantes.
Who are usually shining beacons of morality.
yeah.
Hey, Spider-Man.
Hey, Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, Spider-Man is a vigilante. Superheroes are just all vigilantes.
Until they get controlled by the government, and then it falls apart.
We regulate it. You got to regulate it.
The Iron Man did nothing wrong. But back to Constitution Drive. One of the final things that I actually have to discuss about Constitution Drive with the three of you is the fact that for this, I decided to go on a drive down Constitution Drive by myself.
This already happened, or is this?
This already happened. And I can tell you, yeah, I found some weird shit while I was on the road. I'm not going to lie. Not only did I come across multiple people just parked on the side of the road, seemingly doing nothing, I assume smoking drugs without their parents catching them. But I also came across multiple areas where debris and refuse was just left because this is a place like people like to dump. And the biggest situation, it was a bunch of mattresses and just building materials thrown in a massive pile at the end of the road.
Feels like a homeless camp.
Might be something
Yeah,
like
that feels like a little homeless shit.
The more unnerving stuff I found came earlier in the drive, or in the walk, I should say, after I parked my car, where I came across 4 cardboard boxes that, and I'm not kidding when I say this, amongst the 4 of them contained a Bible, a book of magical spells, handcuffs, maracas, a book. It wasn't a book of spells, but it was something to do with religion or black magic. Laminated hentai.
Forest cultural interchanging maracas and hentai.
Forest porn, which is a little before our time. A laminated. You never heard of forest porn?
No, brother.
Okay, dude. Okay, so apparently it was a common thing in like the 70s and 80s when porn was more physical. That
Bro, in the 90s, I lived
you're talking about like when people found like Playboys, like
the grandpa's stash in the woods.
Yeah.
That was a real thing.
Now we have the internet.
Dude,
I thought you were talking about
That
a genre of erotica, like
That's exactly
No,
like a
no.
fucking tree, fucking bush.
Paul Bunyan
and
and
shit. Like, what are you talking about? Like
lumberjack porn.
I'm glad, Max, that we're on the same page.
Well, wasn't it? I mean, the mid 2000s had the lumbersexual movement, but this is.
What the fuck is the lumbersexual?
Don't worry about
movement?
Well, what is going on?
Don't worry about it. Are dad bods dead?
Yes,
I don't know.
That died in the early teens, right?
That's lumbersexual, isn't it?
Lumbersexual is like the
Lumber-coated.
handsome, like lumberjack, ripped forearms from chopping wood all day.
That makes sense.
And
Dude,
You can't even be a man
flannel.
anymore.
I just remember in college the amount of dudes that were like, "Yeah, I'm working on my dad bod," as they just eat a slice of pizza. I'm like, you can just say you're not exercising.
So
It's
did
fine.
that had to be like shit made up by guys?
I don't know.
That
dude.
had to
I
be.
don't know.
Dad bod? Well, I think everybody had an incredibly loose definition of dad bod because I saw Jason Momoa out of movie season at
That's
the beach
not
and
a
people
dad
would go,
bod.
Like, oh, he's
no,
gonna-
and
he's
a bunch of women
walking
were
a
like,
dad
this
bod.
is the perfect dad bod. And it's an incredibly muscular dude with like above 10%.
Who like doesn't
body fat.
happen to have a six pack?
That's like-
Right,
he's just like walking around at like a normal healthy body fat ratio. Like,
Right. Dad bod wasn't Homer Simpson. It was Jason Momoa after a
Like
couple
Jack presently has
Yeah.
a dad bod by that definition. What would be called in some circles as a bear. You know, like,
Bear bod.
it's just a bear, but for heterosexual women. That's the whole thing. That's what dad bod is.
basically. Yeah.
Not that you're fat, Jack. I just want to point that out. I'm not calling Jack fat. Jack is the for those of us who
Handsome
don't
young
have he is by far the most ripped out of all of the people sitting here right now.
Wait, was I invoked as having a dad bod?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is,
That
is
he
your
just-
name Jack?
He
No,
said-
by the standard of Jason Momoa having a dad bod. Like we're saying, like I was using you as a counterexample to like how ridiculous of a category it is.
Oh, got you.
Yeah.
It's like whenever like Henry Cavill comes on screen and like a bunch of teenage girls. Are
I
like,
love nerds.
Oh, he's just such a
I love-
nerdy boy, and you're like, the guy likes 40K. That guy's not a nerd.
Well, again, he doesn't exactly represent the 40K community. Don't go to
No,
a games.
You're telling me
wor-
that I
Hey,
can't
hey, hey,
identify
hey,
with
you
Henry
watch.
Cavill?
I'm just saying,
You
don't
watch
go
it.
to a
Wait a
Games
second.
Workshop facility and expect 8
Don't
Henry
judge
Cavils to
a
help you
book
build.
by its cover.
I've every 40K player I've ever played with identifies very heavily with Henry Cavill. There's got to be a reason for it. You know, what I
Every
mean?
40
I'm pretty sure it's their physiques.
Every 40K fan I've met has had a 12-pack.
You've met none. You've met none. You've met none. I don't know. 40K is I like it, but you're right. It's a rough demographic. I'm pretty sure most of them are fascists.
But before we start insulting the majority of our audience,
Of our hobby
I'm gonna
fellow enthusiasts.
I'm
yeah.
gonna continue with the last few things that were pretty creepy. Among the things that I had found were just a handful of, I assume, religious statues or ethnically ambiguous, like cultural statues, because they were obviously shaped to look like something, but they wasn't your generic Jesus on the cross. It wasn't like your wood chiseled Santa Claus. They just looked unsettling because of the material. Do you guys not have a wood chiseled Santa Claus that your family
Who
puts
the
out every
fuck has a
Christmas?
wood chiseled Santa
That's
Claus?
the most Syrian thing you've ever said. In
A
in your
wood
fucking
chiseled
life.
Santa Claus?
You know,
You guys wanna go down
your
the-
olive wood hand carved Santa, which looks like he looks like a Zoroastrian magi. You know what I mean? It's like
It's funny because my mother does have a piece of wood that's been like coated,
like blessed.
and then it was blessed, and then it was burned with an image of Mary.
naturally. You know what I mean?
Something every family has.
Yeah. He had a soapstone fucking butts.
Like
What were your stockings made out of?
We got stockings last year, actually. They were
Never
from
had
Target.
stockings.
They were from Target.
They're too poor
They
for
were from
stockings.
Target?
Yeah.
That's just polyester. Let's be real.
I guess you wouldn't need stockings in a Syrian family because Syria is too fucking hot for stockings to be like a normal.
I guess
like,
that is also true. You also probably wouldn't have a
filled with
a fireplace.
sand walking out there. You know, the stockings get in the way of the sand walk.
But yeah, those were that. At least that was the majority of the stuff I found in Constitution Drive. The thing that unsettled me was afterwards. I went home and I was just listening to random people talk, and somebody did. Jack, you'll appreciate this. Somebody went on a hike and came across a very beautiful, naturally, I guess, developed cave. Right. Went inside. They happened to find a wood statue with nails hammered into its eyes, and they thought
voodoo.
They thought. That's cool as fuck. I'm gonna bring that home with
Voodoo
me.
doll.
So he and his
Sounds
friend took it back to their apartment
Jesus
and
Christ.
immediately met with a haunting, dude.
Yeah.
If I went to a cave and found a wooden statue with nails in its eyes,
Take it.
My first instinct is not. I'm
Leave.
gonna put this on my
You're
shelf.
like, is this my mom's Santa?
Take it.
What's this doing out here?
Holy shit, let me
This
bring
is made
that
of-
home.
This is made of olive sandalwood. What is going on with this? This is good shit. This is from the Holy Land. Like, you know,
I'm going to tell you right now, if I'm in a cave and I see a hand-carved Santa Claus, I'm taking that.
So the weirdest thing I ever found, religious
hiking?
icon related,
Okay.
was
That's very
I was in the
specific.
Czech Republic and I went into a old church that was in Olomouc. And I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to go in the basement because I went to the basement. There's a hole in the wall, and so I crawled naturally,
Crawled
into the hole, and then went down and there was like a legit hand dug out tunnel under this church that went back, and there was like a little shrine in the back of the fucking tunnel. I've got pictures of this.
Was it like a reliquary or something?
like a reliquary? Yeah,
Fuck me, I don't know how to say words. Scott.
You made fun of everything I mispronounced. Don't even fucking start on this.
Well, whatever you
It's a
say.
picture of a taco. I don't know what these pictures are now, but just spooky, bro.
I think
And the
it-
temptation to
that's spooky.
steal it was unreal.
Is it like a male thing to just put yourself in stupid situations like that? Because I
No.
No, it's our innate ability to explore and be fascinated by.
Unfelt by members of the opposite
Yeah,
gender.
women,
no,
women,
I
don't,
disagree.
women
When
don't find
Well, 'cause-
nailed
no,
statues
'cause
interesting.
when
I disagree.
No, because when I talk to my
You can fascinate a woman with a nailed
Well, no.
statue. You can-
But no, because when I
how I got my
when,
way.
when I talk to women about this, women fucking love like true crime and paranormal
On
stuff.
this episode of the podcast, men talking about women.
But the thing I find is men in most of these situations are like, all right, I'm in a paranormal situation. My solution is to throw a rock at it, shoot it, try to fight it, or try to fuck it.
We're not talking about video games here. In what situation, if you encountered a paranormal thing, would you
No one
have
should.
a
There
gun?
is a paranormal case I will be covering at some point of a man who said he was receiving extra dimensional inquiries from aliens, and by the time he had turned 13, the ancient old wise alien that he was communicating with died and was replaced by a smoking hot alien babe that he proceeded to have sex with for the next 40 years.
Good for him.
Dude, what a god.
I'm just going to...
He never had to go to Constitution Drive once.
He didn't have to get pediddled either.
He had to pediddle at all.
I mean, I guess probing.
Gangster.
That's
Gangster. No, I don't know. I think if it's a guy thing, it's just because boys are encouraged, and also we have a lot less to lose. I mean, think about the obvious answer is it's dangerous for women to do
anything.
anything. Talk to a girl about what their emotions are about going on a date with someone they don't know. The consequences for us are just lower.
Now imagine asking them to go to a paranormal house.
Hey,
hole in
do
the
you
wall
want
in
to
the
do you want to
basement of
come
a
to this isolated,
Secluded.
long, dark road, which is notorious for disappearances with me?
Don't worry, there's a river.
Yeah, you could swim away. Yeah, first date shit.
And if nothing else, there is at least one family you can run to for help if something bad.
But they're
happens.
albinos,
And they sleep with a shotgun next to their bed, so...
Yeah, dude, fuck that. Yeah, that's why it's a guy thing. Is because we are not conditioned to be, to have that kind of same innate fear because the consequences are lower for us.
That was good.
Are you guys whispering more misogynistic stuff over there?
No, inside jokes.
I didn't say anything misogynistic.
Had nothing
you
to
were
do
the
with
one
women.
that said misogynistic stuff.
Yeah, how did this get turned on us? Us. This
I
is
gave you
your
a flat
podcast,
no at
buddy.
your strange terms.
Yeah, he did. He did. He gave you the most unequivocal
No.
that you could possibly get on a recording. We're gonna clip that out, obviously.
We will clip that out.
Clip out the no.
to
And
paint Jack
clip
as a
in
worse
yes.
character.
Yeah. Can we? We're gonna edit Jack to be the most.
He
we're
said
gonna
yes
repulsive
at some other
misogynist.
points during the
No,
podcast.
we'll be playing Helldivers later tonight, Adam, and I'll specifically ask him leading questions to get a fuck yeah from
Yeah,
him.
there we go. This is why we
Zipped
call him
lips.
Jack.
All
you
I
know
have
what
to
mean?
say is that Adam had a very randy joke that he said earlier. And he's been
I
trying
cannot
to figure out a way
steal
to
this
shoehorn
credit.
it into the fucking podcast, and I don't think it's appropriate, nor do I appreciate
So when it comes, and you'll know it.
We'll close out the podcast with this joke. It's
we
phenomenal.
won't.
No,
All right,
we
we won't,
will.
because
Okay.
it's very
You've already
inappropriate.
written it.
Well, now that we're at the closing of the podcast.
Well, no, I actually wanted to talk more about the items you found real
Oh,
quick.
sure. Go for it. Yeah.
Because I think you said you found a book. Mm-hmm. What did it contain?
So I didn't look too deeply into the book itself, but I made sure to Google it on Amazon to make sure that it was an actual book you could
was it
purchase. No,
readable?
It was It was legible. It was readable. It had print in it. It was just a quite literally. I have the pictures as well somewhere, but it's quite literally a book of magical spells, a prayer book, I believe, and a Bible were all in the same box. So I assume.
These people got to make a decision.
Well, my thing was I assumed it was either somebody who had an incredibly ironic sense of taste where they were like, this will be fucking hilarious if I throw this away on Constitution
I
Drive.
feel like it was just like covering their tracks like Benny from The Mummy. Like if you just go through every possible religious, like if I wanted an exorcism, I'm not just calling a Catholic priest, I'm calling all of them.
You're gonna
calling a rabbi and a mom, all whatever else,
I'm gonna go through my computer real quick and see if I could find this video.
I was also very curious to hear about the maracas that you found. I've never heard of that.
Again, I assume all 4 boxes. I'm making a joke about it actually being haunted.
Oh, this
stuff.
wasn't one box.
No, this was among 4 different
Oh,
boxes.
okay.
Like
See,
the-
I
like-
thought
yeah,
this
no.
was just a very eccentric.
Like the
find.
the maracas and handcuffs were in the same box, and
That's-
those were next to one of the
That
statues.
makes sense.
And one, those were next to one of the statues, and next to the box that contained the book of spells in it. And then several boxes later, I found just more junk and a different statue. I make fun of them being potentially haunted and paranormal. I assume somebody legitimately just wanted to get rid of some stuff and maybe didn't want
You said it's a dumping ground.
their garbage people or their parents to find out about it, so they just threw it away in the middle of nowhere. I don't know if I would pick Constitution Drive. There's quite literally 1,000 dumpsters across Allentown you could go to. But again, maybe this guy had a sense of humor at some point. But that's actually, I can't find the video right now, but that's all I have to say about Constitution Drive right now. Do you guys think that it's paranormal, or do you
No.
guys not at all? Not even.
I'm
a
the
little
local
bit?
skeptic. I'm not going to believe anything is paranormal ever.
I can't wait to come to you with just photographic evidence of something
Of
paranormal.
paranormal activity. What fucking photographic evidence are you going to of a ghost?
We're gonna have to find out, won't we?
Dude, what? If this podcast is convincing Max that paranormal shit exists, it's gonna be a long fucking podcast
Well, it's gonna be a long podcast, regardless.
for that.
Jack is also a no right now.
Jack is a no then.
I'm not a Mulder wants to believe type, but I did grow up going to Gettysburg a lot, so I've always been fascinated by
Sick
ghost stuff.
reference.
Right? Love the X-Files.
Doodle-doo.
Yeah, but,
Gettysburg season 1 coming this season.
is it?
Yes.
Oh, I loved going to Gettysburg, and I would love to talk about that sometime because there was a lot of cool stuff there. But this has been probably one of the least compelling arguments I heard, which is
I found maracas in handcuffs. That's not paranormal.
You've offered no evidence other than kids go there to shoot at this poor old
people's
There are
man.
some parked cars in a maraca.
Somebody
set.
got hit
Yeah.
by a train and it's poorly lit.
Bro, my grandma's Mexican. There's nothing paranormal
Say
about
the
maracas.
same thing
I'm
about
telling
any
you.
subway station.
Yeah, it's like,
mean, if you
it's
were
like,
like-
if anything, it's like I'm less convinced of the paranormal nature. Turns out it's a long dark road with maracas. I don't fucking know.
All of my interest in paranormal entities have significantly decreased after hearing about this. So what was found there, my sense of wonder's gone.
Adam came into this believing that albino people were real, and now he
And
doesn't.
now he
think
doesn't
they're
even, yeah, albino people don't even exist. You know?
That is the only piece of this where I'm like, yeah, that seems.
I don't even think there was. Do we believe that there was an albino family?
I don't think there was.
What are the
Oh, I
chances
thought-
of an entirely albino family, bro? Like,
Oh yeah, that's also pretty. Well, I guess unless is it a genetic?
yeah, it's like
It's
a
genetic.
very
Can you
recessive
pass
genetic
it?
trait.
Okay.
You can pass it
I
on.
mean, like a passable gene, not just like a.
Well, it's what happens when you don't
mutation.
baptize your children.
Well, the question
They become
comes.
albinos.
The question comes with one, was there an albino family? And if there was, were they killing
What did
people?
Were they
do?
haunted?
Oh no, that's not when I said I could believe it. I just mean that there might have been someone who was an albino.
There was albinos
that
that's
once
haunted.
lived
Like,
there.
100%.
I don't mean that they were also a cannibal serial killer.
Can I also point out that
Like
house,
all albinos.
that house that you pointed out, Jack, the one that like is notorious.
It's a nice house.
Yeah, where it's a decently nice house.
not,
Where
like,
it was
weird.
described as having beware of dog signs and an ominous spotlight pointing it out. The spotlight is still there, but when I drove by, all of the beware of dog signs had been replaced with save the planet and plant trees signs. So not only are they
They've gentrified the
So
haunted
the liberals, they've gentrified it.
the liberals have taken the
Gentrified
isolation.
Constitution Drive. That's crazy.
progressive ghost.
Have you ever been to the coffee shop at Constitution Drive?
To Starbucks, actually. It's not even
There's
local.
a there's a
they
kombucha
do
spot.
murder. They do murder people, but at least I can agree with their politics. You know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
On the way back, the fireplace had been lit and it smelled of waffles.
Yeah, it's a brick colonial.
So, like, unfortunately, I'm also gonna have to say no. I don't think there's anything paranormal happening at Constitution
Thank
Drive.
God,
Wait,
'cause
do
if
you
would've been
believe in-
like,
do you
yes,
believe in
after my deep
paranormal
investigation.
Things?
After
Convinced.
the
I can't go
handcuffs.
further with it. Do you believe in the paranormal period?
We're gonna have to find out with the rest of this podcast, won't we? I don't know what case
No,
is gonna
I
come
feel-
across my laptop that's
Genuinely
gonna change.
uncomforted.
Just to give the listener an idea of what that was, our host just said that and then hit his mouth, and you could see his smiling face behind
His
his
childish glee.
his coy and
Smirk
childish
motherfucker.
response. It's really selling this pod.
I guess it would help more if people say how willing. Like I don't need a specific example. If you go, oh yeah, case number 4, I got haunted. I know that. Yeah, I believe in the paranormal.
I am currently being haunted.
So let me ask you guys, moving forward, what types of evidence would you take as like, okay, I believe that is haunted? Well, like, is it like a man's word, physical evidence?
There is genuinely no there's like to constitute something paranormal. I'm like stuttering because of how like
Overwhelmed you are.
I am genuinely I'm shook because like you're asking me to believe in a suspension of the natural order. Like you're asking me to believe in a suspension of the natural order. I can't imagine even personal experience I would be suspicious. I'd be like, I'm losing my fucking mind. I would think I would be going crazy before I believed in ghosts.
For the record, I don't think you need to believe in these. I don't think you need to believe in these things to get some joy out of them. But
Well, of course.
I'm with you. I feel like I won't
Yeah.
really believe in them.
Yeah.
But I like to suspend my disbelief in the same way that when I'm
Absolutely.
walking through a haunted house, I'm like, oh, like obviously I know I'm not going to get my head cut off with a chainsaw, but this guy has a chainsaw, so it's scary in the instantaneous.
Even if it's rubber, it's still a loud noise that'll catch
Plus,
you
I'm a
off guard.
coward, so I naturally feel in that state.
I think I'm a level up from Max, where I think I would have to experience
offense.
something on my. Well, I'm saying just one step up because no, a man's word would not be
You
good
think
enough.
you're above
for-
me?
I'm
beneath
one
you,
step
Adam?
on the skeptical. I'm one step down.
Oh, there we go. I like that better.
So the
There you
pecking
go.
order
I look
right now
down on you.
goes.
Well, hold on. Let me elaborate my position.
Go
so
on,
it's
go on.
because again, growing up with Gettysburg stuff, photos are incredibly easily manipulated time and time and time throughout history. So photos are outright. I would need somebody I trust very implicitly to have experienced it personally and give me crazy detail and then be able to replicate it and have me experience it as well. I think it's
Oh,
fun,
okay.
and I do think that paranormal could I don't believe that little gray aliens are living in a cave somewhere, but I think there's some stuff science hasn't explained, but then once we find it, we can explain it with science. you know?
So to expand upon that a little bit, for me, it's there are certain types of hauntings that I can totally understand are probably just someone's head playing tricks on them. Obviously there are dozens of mental illnesses that can adjust how your perception of reality can be, but there are also situations where like the ghost tone, if you guys have ever heard of that. Like
Which one?
The ghost tone, I think it's like 18.7 hertz.
familiar.
If it's played loud enough, and by that I mean it's not audible to humans, it's a subsonic tone that we feel but don't register consciously. And we found
dogs can hear it, but we can't.
Yeah,
not even
no,
dogs.
it's infrasonic
It's
sound.
like you can legitimately feel
mosquito
like
ringtone.
the way people explain it is it causes a sense of dread and fear, which is why it's been noted that the ghost tone radiates off of old machinery because of the type of electricity that they're running in the circuitry and the machinery within them, which is why I think older houses, older factories,
feel
anything
spooky.
is spooky because not only is it probably condemned and decrepit, it might also have this legitimate frequency
So
humming
what I
in the
feel
background.
you've just submitted is an argument against the paranormal, and I just wanted to point that out that you were leading into something that could convince you of the paranormal, and we arrived.
Well,
back
no,
at
I was
there's
leading.
a perfectly logical.
Well, I was leading
conclusion.
to. I was leading to Adam's point of that. Like at some point, I feel a sense of dread. Was enough for people to be like, yeah, that room makes everybody feel uneasy. It's probably haunted. Now we can quantify that in some situations.
Here's why.
Yeah, like it turns out the giant heater in the corner of the room makes a noise that you can't hear that makes you feel uncomfortable.
Right. Well, I'm even saying, like, let's say if we find out tomorrow that ghosts
Exist.
exist, it would only be a matter of time until, like, Danny Phantom-esque, like, this is the ghost realm, and this is how it exists, and we can harness ghosts. And, like, again, it's only
ghosts.
paranormal until we study it.
Until it's normal.
Yeah, so I'm not saying ghosts don't exist. I'm just saying if they do, there's a
I'm submitting to you
reason
that
for it.
ghosts do not exist. I'm submitting to you that they do not exist, and that they are not real, and that they can't be real. That's that's where I'm at.
Well, then we're going to have to explore all of these ideas and more next time on Our Haunted Nostalgia. Thank you for joining us on Our Haunted Nostalgia. I look forward to exploring the paranormal with you in the future.